When we think about the function of cash, you would do well to think back to our sales revenue and our fixed cost and our variable cost, because they're generally the sources and spending of cash. So what things will cash be needed for? So if you begin first of all with variable costs, it's likely as a new business you'll pay for these things cash up front. So you could have raw materials, you might have wages that are paid by piece rate, you might have royalty payments. If you consider fixed costs, you might have things like your rent, your business rates, you might pay salaries, you might pay for marketing or advertising cost, and it's likely that you'll pay for utility bills, your gas, your water, your electricity, things like that. So generally, we need cash in order for our business to trade on a day-to-day basis. And it's likely that those will all fall into the category of cash outflow, and you just need to consider as a business if it's a regular payment, so once a month or once a year, or if it's an irregular payment, something that's a one-off, maybe a vehicle's broken down and you need to purchase a new one, so it's something that perhaps you didn't plan for. If you consider how businesses generate cash then, in order to pay for their bills, it's likely that the cash inflow will come because they sell a good or provide a service. So the hardest thing when we look at this is to consider exactly how does cash move about our business. So it's likely that cash will start at the very beginning, and we'll look at the capital injected into the business. So this could be the founder's capital. So do they have a redundancy payment? Have they got a loan? It doesn't matter where the source comes from, it's likely that this will be the first point. I'm going to suggest then what we do is we move straight away to the bottom of the cash cycle and we try and actually buy some goods. So it might be that you buy the raw materials in order to produce something if you're a manufacturing business, but you might be a retail business and you might buy goods already in their finished state. So corner shops with the tins of baked beans, newspapers, those kind of things. You don't actually have to do anything with those. You can just take them, put them in stock room and then put them on your shelves. Now it's most likely that when you're a business first starting up, you will have to pay these in cash straight away. But then a relationship builds up between you and your supplier, and you might find that after you've made cash up front payments that you're offered a credit facilities, and so you might get buy now and pay later. And so it would be good for the business that there might be no withdrawal of cash for a period of time. So finally we have to decide how long will it take us from buying our materials in order to produce our goods. So you might be lucky enough that this could be instantaneous in the case of a retail outlet, or actually it might be that you have a manufacturing process over many years. So if you've done the value added and you looked at potatoes, you know that William Chase, Tyrrell's Crisps, that's what he made, but he had lots and lots of small potatoes that he couldn't do anything, and he now makes premium vodka with it, and it's a high mover. But obviously the distillation process takes a considerable amount of time. So there might be a considerable delay between buying our raw materials and being able to sell them to customers. Now, depending on what kind of business you're in, I can hardly go shopping at Asda and turn around and say to them, oh, actually, I'm going to take my food today and I'm not going to pay for a long time. So if you're a small, new enterprise business, it's likely that you might sell to customers and they may pay you straight away, in which case you would record the cash. However, there is a provision that perhaps if you were a manufacturing business, you took the order and you sold the goods, but actually you gave them some time to pay. So we would know that as buy now, pay later. So it might be the fact that there is a delay in the time from the customers receiving their goods to paying for the cash. So what happens then? We have to consider the amount of time that our cash cycle moves on between selling the goods and then our customers. So in business terms, they're called debtors, to pay up. Now, hopefully we would be considering that we could do this well. We could manage our our payments in the hope that we receive the money in an orderly time. If you think back to sources of finance, we'll have considered the fact that you might have to debt factor, and that would suggest that not all of our customers may pay on time, and you may have to wait and chase them up over many, many months, in which case there could be a considerable delay before we return to having sufficient cash in order to buy our materials. And at some instances, because a new business entrepreneur wants some rewards, they might actually take some of this money and it may leave the business. So rather than buying materials, they may use it to pay themselves a wage. So it's quite a good idea to think about the business position, what we think is going to happen to the cash flow of our business, and then what will that mean for the business. So really what we're trying to look here is we're trying to have some knowledge in the first column, trying to apply it in the second column, and then we're trying to think about analysis skill in the third column. And it's likely that this would be the kind of argument, the kind of small paragraph that you would put together for your business. So my first business position then, I've written, we're just preparing the idea. We haven't started trading yet. So let's think. You might have the initial sum of cash. You might have no cash. So it depends on what you and how much you've started your business with. However, I'm going to suggest I'm going to have to pay a down payment on rent if I want a shop. I might have to pay for some advertising in advance. Well, I can hardly open my shop and have no stock inside it. So it's likely that I will have to buy quite a considerable amount, and so I might actually find wherever my cash position starts, it's likely to have a negative effect on it. So I'm likely to be spending quite a lot, and I would record that in my cash outflow. What does this mean for my business then? Well, if I was excellent at planning in advance, I would have made an appointment with my business bank manager, and I might have arranged a bank overdraft, because even though it's quite expensive in the long term, I've got high hopes for my business, but it would allow me to spend more money than I have in my bank account. Alternatively, I could have some personal sources of finance, so I could be using a credit card in order to assist my business not run out of cash. Okay, my idea takes off. I begin trading. It could be a slow injection of cash at the beginning, as customers only find about my shop or my manufacturing business, but it's likely that I will have an injection of cash, although it's likely to be fairly small, but I'll still have some of these outgoings, so I'll have some cash outflow, and I might still be in the position where I have more cash flowing out of my business than in. So if we consider what impact that will have on my business, it's likely I'm still going to have this cash overdraft facility, and I need to be very careful because every time I spend cash, obviously there's an opportunity cost involved. Excellent, my business is beginning to take off. I have a large order received. Will my customers pay a deposit? They may not. You may have payment upon delivery, in which case, as soon as I receive an order, I have to go out and invest a lot of money on the stock necessary to fulfill that order, and so it's likely that I will have a decrease in my cash available, as I will need to spend it. I need to take care at this point in my business that I have sufficient additional cash in order to keep my day-to-day trading running. So it's important that I monitor my business overdraft or arrange alternative sources. It's likely at the beginning, even though you would maybe like to use it, that I would have trade credit. It's likely at the beginning that I maybe won't get trade credit till I've got a bit of a reputation. Excellent. My large order has been fulfilled and I have received payment. Suddenly, I have a healthy bank balance, or perhaps I have meant that I don't have as much of a bank overdraft facility. Perhaps I could reduce that. If I haven't got a positive cash flow, at least I will have an improved cash situation. And that looks very favourable for my business in terms of if I wanted an alternative loan, or it allows me the opportunity cost that I will have some money in which to invest in an alternative transaction.